Here we are for the post-game coverage of the Elon University Phoenix and the one and only University of Delaware Blue Hens. Well, the reason why I say the one and only University of Delaware Blue Hens is because they lost. Yes, that's correct. The number 11 ranked University of Delaware lost against the currently unranked Elon University Phoenix. Final score, you ask, was 27-7. That was the final. The Elon University Phoenix had a shutout second half. And offensively, they did everything they needed to do. Defensively, like I said, shutout. They literally couldn't do anything. And there were moments throughout the game, not only the second half, but the first half, there were moments when there were interceptions. The defense intercepted the ball. There were fumbles. The defense forced a fumble out of Delaware's offense to the point where they were able to recover it. And that was all within a moment when they were essentially going to score. So defense came in when they needed to, offense came in when they needed to, but there were still some flaws that you could really see, the biggest one being the penalties. I mean, by the third quarter, the penalty yardages were, really up there. Third quarter, there were 8 penalties on Elon between the offense and the defense that added up to 66 yards. Some of those yardages being towards the beginning of the game. And it was essentially the first drive that Elon had where they had 25 yards off of 3 penalties between holdings and roughing the passer on the defensive side. And it's frustrating to think that they can get called holding so many times in the game, and those penalties can get added up so quickly. So for Elon, by the third quarter, they had 8 penalties, like I said, for 66 yards. By the third quarter, the University of Delaware had 4 penalties for 40 yards. There was a player on Elon's defense that got kicked out for targeting. There were a few calls that University of Delaware had that were unsportsmanlike conduct. And then the big positive that I want to talk about too, before we get into a major announcement, is the fact that Elon knew going into this that it was all going to be about possession of the ball. The amount of time that they held on to that ball was going to really dictate who was going to win, because they really understood the notion that the longer that the University of Delaware had the ball, the higher the chances that they were going to win. And it turned out to be evident. It turned out that notion proved itself fantastically, phenomenal, if you will. So again, I'm going to use the third quarter as a reference. By the third quarter, possession time for the University of Delaware was 16 minutes and 28 seconds. In the very same quarter, the Phoenix had a possession time of 28 minutes and 32 seconds. And so third down and conversions, I mean, our defense literally shut them down. Get this, by the third quarter, the University of Delaware only had the opportunity 8 times to this point to try to attempt for a third down conversion. But out of the 8 times, they were only 4 for 8 on third down conversions, whereas at the same point, Elon was 11 for 14. 14 tries at this point. We had more in the fourth quarter. But the fourth quarter, again, one of those circumstances where we were ahead by a very good lead. Again, we won 27-7. So is the point where we needed to just run out the clock, try to manage it properly and thoroughly, but again, run out the clock in a way that it just wasted time. And it got to a point where taking a timeout wasn't even worth it. 20 points. I mean, you're not going to score 20 points in 2 minutes unless a whole series of, crazy things happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to exclude that by any means. but it's unlikely unless something crazy happened. But I mean, total first downs up to the third quarter, the Blue Hens had 16, the Phoenix had 17. Um, so that being said, the time of possession up to this point increased dramatically. The third down connections, they needed that confidence back. Because last week they couldn't get anything connecting offensively or defensively. And this proved that they really worked extra hard just to make sure they loosened up or they tightened up those loose bolts. And they made sure that those few plays that weren't working the right way worked the right way. And you could tell, especially against, again, number 11 ranked team. And so it's extremely important. So this is breaking news as of the fourth quarter of the game that the kicker for the Elon University Phoenix, Skylar Davis has broken not just one school record, but two. You heard that right. He broke two Elon University records. All right, the first one being he now has the longest kick in school history. Yes, he knocked in a 53-yard field goal. Pound Town, USA, baby. And just knocked that ball right down the middle in between those goalposts as he should have and needed to, and he got it done. So, longest kick in school history, and he now has the most points by a Elon University kicker ever, ever. And that was in the fourth quarter. So, huge shout out to Skylar Davis for being able to conduct such a great collegiate career, great football career, and he's definitely made himself proud. So huge shout out to him. And I'm just gonna end it right there. That's a good way to end it. That's a good way to just top everything off. Top off a great, fantastic 27-7 win against the number 11 ranked Blue Hens of University of Delaware. And last home game is next week. And it'll be homecoming for Elon University. So the crowd is going to be packed. It's going to be present. And it's going to be fun. So without further ado, it's Foul Ball Podcast signing out for our post-game coverage for the Elon University Phoenix.